Hi, everybody. Today I'm here answering questions from law firms and non-medical home care agencies and assisted living communities about standards of care and duty of care, whether at the federal level or the state level, and even the standards of individual companies and their internal operations manuals and processes and handbooks specific to the idea of negligence and lawsuits. And so just to give some context, every provider of care for elderly has a duty and a legal obligation to prevent harm and offer care. And I know this because my name is Pamela D Wilson. I'm an expert witness in litigation cases. For over 25 years, I've worked in the caregiving and the care industry, and I have been personally and legally responsible for the care of clients to a significant degree. So in many of these cases, where things go wrong is in the area of duty of care. So employees of anyone taking care of the elderly or disabled have a duty to provide care. And because they are paid employees, their duty is higher than that of a family member. So they have a duty to act like a reasonably prudent person would in any situation and to follow standards and guidelines of the company that they work for. Now, sometimes this doesn't happen and a person fails to take an action, or they take an action and it results in harm to someone. And the harm could be a physical injury, it could be broken bones, it could be an illness that worsens, it could be a hospitalization, expensive medical care. On the other end, it could be a caregiver who steals medications, steals money, uses the property of a client. So all kinds of things can happen, and many of the employee guidelines and employee standards should be very clear on approved behaviors, approved actions, approved things based on what is called a care plan. Most in-home care agencies I know have care plans. All care communities have care plans. And a care plan really is a document that says this is what this person needs. This is a checklist of what we agree to do for this person. And so when I talk about things that bring organizations into litigation, into lawsuits, it's really not the regular everyday things like we bathe every day, we medication remind, we help with safe walking, we help people with activities. It's the non-regular things. It's inattention one day versus another. It's a change in condition one day versus another. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that Mrs. Smith wakes up every day at 8 o'clock and she goes to have breakfast and everything is just good. Well, one day, Mrs. Smith doesn't want to get out of bed at 8 o'clock. And this is a true story of one of my clients. So I had a client living in an assisted living memory care community who I went to visit at 11:30, so around lunchtime. So it's lunchtime and I go in and my client is still in bed. And I said, "Oh, what's going on today? You're not up, you didn't get to breakfast. What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I feel so tired today. I have no energy. I don't want to get out of bed. Leave me alone. Let me go back to sleep." And my thought was, this is not normal. So I go to the care staff and I say, "Hey, what's going on? Did you check on her this morning? What did she say?" And they said, "Well, she told us that she was tired, and that's a patient right to want to stay in bed." And I said, "Okay, I understand that, but does she do this every day?" They're like, "Well, no, of course not." And I said, "Well, then this is something out of the ordinary." And in the care plan, I say, if there's a change in condition, if there's something out of the ordinary, call me. And you guys didn't call me. Fortunately, I showed up. So I went to the med person and I said, "Hey, has she taken her meds this morning?" They said, "Yeah, we gave her meds." And I said, "Well, has anybody thought to, besides the fact that you didn't call me, has anybody thought to take her blood pressure or check her temperature or, check her pulse oxygen level? Maybe she's in bed this morning because she's tired and she's actually not feeling well, not, it's not an issue of she wants to sleep in today. There's a problem. And so I had them check everything, and she had a temperature, her blood pressure was low, her pulse oxygen was low. So I had them call 911 and I sent her to the hospital. Had I not shown up that day, my client probably would have died, because they would have thought that she had the right to sleep all day in bed. Her pneumonia would have gotten worse. Her bronchitis would have gotten worse, which is what she was diagnosed with in the hospital. So it's these type of changes that aren't noticed that a caregiver may say, well, it's a patient right. Well, yes, it can be a patient right, but is it a change in what they normally do day to day? And many state and many federal regulations have information in there about the fact that you are to watch over the health and safety of the people that you care for. So if there's a change, it's important for caregivers to report a change. And many care agencies and assisted living communities say, well, how much do we have to document? Well, again, a checklist for the normal things that you do every day in a care plan, bathing, dressing, giving people medications, feeding. I mean, you do have a checklist for medications. It's called a medication administration record, right? You check that off. Why can't you do a checklist for other things? Just to say, yes, you know what? We got everything done today on the care plan and everything is good. Or we got everything done today on the care plan, but we have a concern because Mrs. Smith isn't getting out of bed today. Mr. Smith could walk yesterday and he's not walking. Mr. Jones is complaining that he's got a little bit of pain today. Maybe these are things we should look into. And many times caregivers don't have the education or the background or the medical skills to know exactly what to look for, but they can certainly cite something is different. There is a change. Then they can go to a supervisor to say something's different. I'm worried. Can somebody with more skill look into this? Or should we call the family member? Or should we call the responsible party? Should we let somebody know that something just is off today and we want to make sure it's not serious? We need to do our duty to make sure that this person is cared for and this person is safe. So to answer the question for care agencies of what to do about documentation and noting changes and how to manage a care plan and look at care plans, my advice is train your staff. Make sure that they understand the standards of care and the duty of care and their responsibilities and exactly what is in that care plan. And if you're concerned, because some agencies will say, well, if we don't document and we get into a lawsuit, we of course can't get into trouble because we didn't document anything. And there's this old saying that, well, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. How do you prove that you were doing exactly what you should have been doing? You have to find ways that work for you and your staff. It could be something as simple as a checklist. It could be something as simple as a transcribed document, or something that they say on an audio or a video recording that I completed all the steps in the care plan today, I made a change over to the next person, everything was okay, or I reported this incident and this is what we did about it, and it's on paper and it's recorded and we contacted the family members and all of that. So every company, every agency has to decide how much they want to document and how much they don't want to document. It's also important to understand what happens if there's litigation and how will you support what you did or what you didn't do. That comes down to be the greatest question that I'm asked in all of this when I'm an expert witness and I'm writing reports and I'm testifying is, well, how do I prove that these people did their job? How do I prove that they trained their employees? How do I prove that these employees knew that they were supposed to do what they did? And did they do it? Is there any documentation? Those are always the questions that I asked. If there's no documentation, then it's a little harder to support that an agency did what they were supposed to do. Although, if there were standards in place that said we do document changes in condition, or we do document concerns, or we do call the responsible family member, or we do advise someone else of a change, then that may be more the basis for the documentation than saying, yes, we do these 10 things every day and we're checking off the list. So again, care agencies have to make these decisions. Some companies have risk management departments that help you make these decisions. But whatever you decide, be consistent across all employees. Train all employees the same way. Train them to raise their level of documentation, whatever that may be for you. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert who supports companies and also family members in any type of litigation regarding care management, standards of care, duty of care. Based on over 25 years of experience in this industry, you can find more information about me at my website, PamelaDWilson.com. Thank you so much for being here. Please do like this video, follow my channel. I will see you all again soon in another video.